Then.
Okay, just a second. I will tell a few words and after that.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Anyway, hello and welcome. I'm Lucas and I'm one of the I'm one of the curators of Uroboros Festival, and I'm very happy that I can introduce you to Zmatek, who will lead this almost very last event of the Uroboros Festival. And I'm sure that I can say the best for the end. Anyway, Zuzana Zmatek is currently studying at Aalto University and working as a freelancer. She is a textile designer trying to reach beyond the boundaries of the conventional reception and understanding of textile design. And that sounds quite interesting for me because the common public discussion is often reduced on topics such as style and fashion, but Zuzana doesn't present textile as a pleasing decoration. She sees it as a strong and respected communication tool in a public sphere with its value as well as a sculpture artistic expression. She perceives design to be a medium delivering her own perspective on contemporary social and environmental issues. Zuzana's today workshop will also be about communication, I think, and in this case, about interspecies communication. Zuzana, thank you for being part of our festival, and here is your word.
Thanks for having me. So now I'll share my presentation with you. Okay. Just a second. Right. Can you see it?
Yes.
Good. So, hello everyone. Welcome to the Interspecies Communication Workshop. My name is Zuzana and I will be your workshop host. So, thanks for showing up and deciding to dedicate your Saturday afternoon to this creative activity. So let's start. This is the outline of the workshop. So in the first part, I will briefly present the project so you sort of understand what it's about and how to approach the workshop. And during the workshop, you will be divided in groups and design a communication tool or a tactic for a specific species. And the goal is to have time at the end to present your ideas and also have some wrap-up discussion. So let's start. The project was created by me, Tsuyu, Mittila, and Aino as part of a course called Critical Design at Aalto last year. So at the beginning of the course, we were asked to come up with 7 different problems connected to design. We listed several, and out of those, we chose one to develop further. As we all felt sort of fed up with humans being in the center of everything, we started to think about how would non-human centered design look like and what would that mean? But before we immersed in designing for non-humans, we wondered about the human-centered design and asked questions such as, what is it? Why is it problematic? Why do we need alternatives? So we made this quick search on the internet, which gave us the following result. As the name would suggest, human-centered design is for humans. And as you can see, it's all about building a deep empathy with the people you're designing for. So trying to understand the phenomenon made us wonder what and when is that designing for humans and only for humans took priority. What made us as humans view everything else as a resource. These were the key questions and dilemmas that shaped our project and research. In order to visualize our field of inquiry, we initiated cut and paste workshop for which we collected pictures that were most relevant to our topic and described the human-centered and the non-human-centered design the best. Those pictures became an inspiration for a collective collage. This is something you can also use during this workshop In your designs, you can visualize or explain your ideas using pictures from the internet and make a collage. So to be able to understand how to design for non-humans, we had to first ask ourselves the definition of non-humans. So does everything that is non-human fall under the realm of non-human? Will that also include the material world? Or do we concentrate on the living non-humans? For our scope of study, we decided to narrow down non-humans to living organisms made by microbes, plants, or animals. The concept of interspecies communication was also built upon the somewhat controversial idea of speciesism that was popularized by the Australian philosopher Peter Singer. Singer defines it as an attitude of bias against the being based on its species, or in other words, non-human racism. So we adapted this idea for our first draft of the manifesto, which in turn led us to generate a set of research questions to help frame the project. The manifesto and the research questions guided us in putting forward our first abstract. The project is intended to make us as humans take notice of our surrounding, to accept and appreciate the non-human beings that coexist with us, to relate to non-humans not as separate entities, but as companions that are our equal. Our aim through the project is to afford non-humans the same level of respect, rights, and empathy that we would afford humans. For us to try and communicate with non-humans through their respective language and medium. So here the idea of designing for ecosystem or non-human species started to take shape in a form of designing tools that could aid the communication between different species to create understanding and empathy towards the other, and therefore motivate people to care about nature. We had this exercise with Paula Antonelli, in which we were asked to examine an object, in our case, a brick. The brick we were given was partly covered in mold, and therefore to us, it represented a habitat for microorganisms. We shot a short film where 3 different sequences captured a brick as an infant. This personification of a brick served the purpose of humans identifying with microorganisms. So this video served as an inspiration for our further use of different media in promoting empathy towards the other. Okay, on the other hand, we wanted to learn about how people perceive the other species and whether they communicate with them. For that purpose, we opened up the research questions to the public by starting threads on online forums. This led to some interesting and not so interesting discoveries. As part of our first-hand research, we decided to reach out to the rescue center, zoo, and to the aquarium to investigate the topic further. By visiting those places, we wanted to observe and document how, if at all, people interact with animals in these human-made environments. So the first place we visited was the rescue center. The second place we decided to visit was the zoo. The first visit, in a sense, was disappointing because it gave us gave an insight on how the visitors interacted with animals. To them, animals were just entities behind the glass, spectacles to be taken pictures of. There wasn't any meaningful communication or interaction happening. This observation led us to contact the zoo again and set up an appointment where we would be able to observe the zookeepers. This allowed us to understand how the zookeepers communicated with the animals. What were the different sounds, actions, and tools they use? So the second visit to the zoo turned out to be more fruitful. We not only were able to observe different methods of communication between the caretakers and animals, but the interviews with the zookeepers open up a whole new scope of inquiry for interspecies communication. Their knowledge into the field helped us look further into different types of interspecies communication. This varied from chemical communication to sign languages to olfactory signals.
The thing that he's doing, they have this phlegm organ, so he's kind of sucking in air.
Right. This last place we visited was the aquarium. Interview with the caretakers there helped us gain perspective on how aquatic species communicate and how the caretakers understand the needs of these beings. In addition to discussing the topic with animal caretakers, we decided to engage people from different backgrounds in a 15-minute micro workshop. Here are some workshop results. The participants could choose from various forms of answering. Some were recorded, others preferred to draw or even mimic the ideas they had. So here I want to point out that you can also record a video, take pictures, make different sounds, or use gestures to communicate your ideas. So it's all possible, even on Zoom, so feel free. In one of the tasks, the participants were asked to imagine a world without verbal language and design a tool for communication between humans and non-humans in this context. We then took these ideas further by materializing them as watercolor illustrations. These spontaneous speculations on fictional tools led us to further research the possibilities of communicating with non-human species on a beginner level. As we began to look further, we soon realized that we had only started to scratch the surface of the interactions between different species. However, thanks to this research, we realized that the communication between humans and non-humans is mostly one-sided and based on humans projecting their communication methods and emotions onto other species, without really trying to understand ways of communication used by a specific species. Of course, that did not apply to the zookeepers and people who knew about animals. So this disconnection between humans and non-humans made us think about how could we help to improve the communication between different species. As this was a university course, we had to have some outcome, which we constructed from the Micro-Utopia workshop and the field research conducted throughout the project. So we created an educational tool in a video format and a publication called Discussions on Interspecies Communication, which included a set of watercolor illustrations. Those educational tools worked as an introduction to interspecies communication tactics for humans. This was the bee dance navigation. This is singing to a tree. So now we will have a look on the video I mentioned before. This video also illustrates a possible outcome of this workshop, well as you could create a video demonstrating a way of communicating with a specific species if we had maybe like more time. But let's have a look.
Although empathy is wired into our brains, it has reached a crisis in the age of polarization. In addition to discriminating humans, we value non-human species according to our ability to relate to them. One of the concepts acting as a barrier between species in terms of worthiness for human empathy is the spinal cord. It justifies our ethics for eating plants, but not animals. However, plants are increasingly being shown to understand kinship and show altruism similar to animals. What if plants are in fact sentient beings? How do we communicate with them? To us, they are silent, right? The roots of plant seedlings communicate with each other by gently crackling at the frequency of 220 Hz. When exposed to this frequency, plants turn the tips of their roots towards it. This means that they communicate with sound waves, like humans. This exercise will help you tune into your plant's frequency by vocalizing your breath. Concentrate on your breathing. Let it flow in and out. Then slowly activate your voice. With each out breath, make a hum. With the sound resonating in your body, start aiming for a continuous 220 Hz. The humming requires practicing, just like singing. In order to reach 220 Hz as a beginner, you can work with a tuner. Plants are not silent. Tune in with them. Despite similarities of facial expressions across different animals, the same facial expression might signal different emotions in closely related species. Many humans objectify animals, relate to them as pets, or see them simply as spectacles of beauty, and project human ways of communication on them. This leads to non-human misconceptions and frustrations. One example of misread facial expression is the direct eye contact, or gazing. In our culture, failing to meet someone's gaze could send an unflattering message. For many animals, even domestic cats, direct eye contact means challenge or threat and is used during predation or for territorial reasons. Domestic cats will lower their eyelids or slowly blink to show trust and affection to their owners. Cat owners can mimic this behavior to return not only a message of affection, but to reinforce non-threatening position. This exercise will show you a way of communicating with your cat by engaging different facial muscles in order to mimic the cat's expression. At first, you need to relax your body, slow down your breath, and remain calm. The animal can sense if you are nervous. Imagine yourself as a cat. Show your affection to the imaginary cat you want to interact with by starting to blink in slow motion. Try to open and close your eyes in repetitive cycles, keeping in mind that you have to remain calm and relaxed and fully concentrate on the slow motion blinking.
Okay, as our time is limited, we have to move on, but the video is online in case someone is interested in watching it. Now let's move into the workshop part. So the purpose of this workshop is to generate new ideas for the interspecies communication with your help. So you will design in a team and you will design for the chosen species. During the process of designing, you can use these guidelines. In order to design for interspecies communication, you need to identify the language they use. For this, you have to do some research. I know that's a long process, but I did let you know about the species in advance, so you had time to get to know the species a bit. But in case you didn't, there is a Drive folder we will share with you, which includes some information about your species. Then it will include this guideline, as well as pictures you can use when designing. So once you researched and brainstormed ideas, you should choose one and start developing the concept. And at the end, you will present some kind of fictional tool or a tactic enabling the interspecies communication. But this should be fun, so let's take it easy. We are going to design for Bacillus subtilis. This is a short text from the article I shared with you by mail. I really enjoy the style it was written in. Makes you feel like the bacteria is a friend. So let's approach this workshop in that way. And in the PDF file we'll share with you, you can find this information, like the basic information about the bacteria. So where does it live? What does it do? What does it like? And then there is also some information about how does it communicate. So this, like bacteria in general, they use like a chemical cues, and then the latest findings was that they use electricity. I mean, they communicate electrically. So this is just like some help for you in the process. So that's all from this presentation part. Thank you. Stop sharing. Okay, so now we will divide you into groups, and as we have like 13 people, then we'll divide you into 3 groups, and then share a link with you. And then this is a Drive link. Then you open this link, and you'll find a collection of different images there, which you can use in creating like a collage or whatever. And then there is also this one tool called Sketch Together. And then it's like, I think, where all of you in a group can add and draw and paint, and you can share it like with your group.
Zuzana, maybe before we will be divided into the separately group, maybe you can show the content of the shared folder, and as well as the user interface of the tool, just shortly.
Okay.
Thank you.
How can I show you the content?
I can share the link for the Google Drive by the chat.
Okay.
For you.
Thank you.
So everyone, you can find the link in the chat.
Right. So this is the folder, and it includes a lot of different images of like electric communication, maybe, you know, bacteria, just stuff which might maybe motivate you. Like you can use a lot of things here and like be creative with the machinery you want to use. And there is this guideline here, and also the basic information about your bacteria. And then Sketch Together. I will also share this link with you, but you should open it once you're divided in groups. And then one person from a group opens the link, enters it, and then shares it with the others. So, okay, you shared it. Who shared it? Right. Like this. Use mine, because mine is before anyone entered. I think that's it.
Okay. One more question. Right now, we are 15 participants. That means that here are 12 events guests. So we can make 3 groups per 4 people, or 2 groups and each with 6 people, which is the best option.
I think we can do 3 groups, 4 people.
Okay. Lukáš, can you prepare it, please?
Yeah, it is already prepared exactly as
right.
wanted. My final question is, how many minutes do you want to leave participants in the breakout rooms?
20 minutes. Let's start with 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Okay. So I'm opening it. And part of you will remain in the main session room as we are now here. So it will be as a third group. Those who receive now invitation for breakout room, just confirm that, please. And I left Zuzka and Lukáš in main session. However, you have also invitation for one of the rooms that you can join and check how the work is going on.
Are we in our group?
Yes.
Hi.
Oh, nice. Hi, I'm Gigi.
Hi. I'm Lucia. Hi.
So, how
Thank
should
you.
I guess we can do the sketch together link.
Yeah. Yeah, I already opened some.
Oh, do you think you could send us what you opened?
Yes, but I mean, I can send it just to the link from the from the Chrome. Maybe I can share here. So let's see if it works. And I can try to write there something. Well, hopefully it's gonna be easy. Yeah. You see, I'm doing something there.
Yes, I think so.
Okay,
Yes.
nice.
Great.
So, did you guys have any immediate ideas that came to your mind? Maybe that we can share around bacteria communicating with one another?
Well, like not really. I'm not sure like if we should actually like do, let's say, some electric signals and like towards us or like maybe we can communicate with the bacteria on our bodies or something.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like, yeah, where is the bacteria located? And then the
Basically everywhere.
electricity is cool too, because what I noticed with those examples is so much of it is about the human communicating to the other species, but how do we understand what they say back?
Yeah.
I was thinking lights and electricity. I don't know. That was my first thought.
Yeah, well, Zuzana told that they communicate by electricity, so I would trust her. I don't know if a light is maybe yes. I didn't read the yeah.
You know,
Or electros.
so you
Gentle.
can feel.
You know those
what
little
they're-
toys you used to do when you like the fake bubble gum and you would pull it and it was
Oh
electric?
yeah,
Maybe you could like feel the electricity.
that's interesting. So like, it's interesting that we can feel or see electricity. Like, how can we communicate by making like a light show or like an electric, like sensation message? Like, there's some sort of translation that needs to happen back and forth.
Yeah, definitely. I'm quite confused because like it's so like short time, but I'm gonna look to the folder. They have some Arduino stuff there, which we probably will not create now.
In the article, it is mentioned that the bacteria is used for immune system, liver function, and dental health purpose in a way, and that you can find it in soil and gastrointestinal part of the human. But because if the idea is to see the bacteria as a good thing and not as a germ or as an invisible enemy, as we might have here from the COVID situation, it says that it's good for the human system, but it's still the bacteria being good for you. Could we switch the communication and you being good for the bacteria, you know, to make it maybe more reciprocal?
Yeah. Like we can like give our bodies to bacteria just to.
Oh, like they can live on us. They can live in our mouths.
Yeah, they actually do so.
I'm sorry. It falls me down, so maybe you can put me back to my group.
Where is the third breakout room?
I don't know. I was in the second, but after that my Zoom fall down, so
Yeah.
to reflect.
I will try it. I will try it, but I'm not sure if I'm able to do that.
Monica, I just assigned you to the second breakout room now, so you should be able to get there. And actually, the third breakout room is this room where we are now. Even it's not a breakout room, but we can imagine as it is. Okay.
I'll get it. Yes. Thank you.
How is it when the dog like goes through the electric fence? They get like.
One more thing, Monica, have you seen the confirmation for assigning to the breakout room? Because I activated and you should confirm it.
I have received.
No, I don't.
I have received an invite to breakout room number 1.
Yeah, but also I can see Monica is assigned to breakout room 2. I cannot do nothing more. It's Monica needs to confirm that.
There should be something popping up on your screen, like a box, and then you just. But if it doesn't work for her, then maybe assign someone else to that room and she can stay in this one.
Hello, Monica, can you hear us?
Well, anyway, guys, did you get this?
Yeah, we are reading them.
Okay, and
Yeah.
you can also use this sketch together to draw and paint and whatever at the same time. Good.
We have one up now.
Perfect. Sorry, I'm just checking.
There it is.
But maybe
And maybe Zuzana, you can tell us something about like you told that they communicate with electric signals, and like what do they communicate? Is it like something that let's move there, or I'm hungry, or what do they say?
Well, probably they communicate some very basic messages, or for us they seem very basic. But like that's also something you can still research, but maybe you don't have to, like, it's up to you if you want to focus on that or not. At the same time, you know, the time is limited, so if there's something you can't solve, just move on. But I think they might just communicate basic stuff.
So yeah, probably about then it should be about like the foes, like the enemy is there or something like that, no? About like food or...
In the document, it says that they communicate to recruit new bacteria in the surroundings, to coordinate the behaviors. So it sounds like really community-like oriented behavior. They really work as a system. I mean, I'm not sure they are individuals in the bacteria realm, which is quite different from maybe the way humans are working in a way.
So maybe we can like kind of like tell them that we are their like friends or somehow like.
Are they aware that we exist?
Probably, maybe, yeah, but they don't know we exist as a whole. Maybe they know just like some parts of us, like we are in the mouth. I don't know.
Understand what their aims and desires are and how we can facilitate that. Like Bastien, what you said, how can we be good for the bacteria rather than how can the bacteria be good or bad for us?
And it's interesting to look at it from the electric perspective, because most of the time electricity as a message for human is not very well considered. I mean, electric shocks is sending a pretty strong message, but in the same time, brain is wired with electric signals for neuronal networks. So yeah, how they can send us electric signals to tell us what they need might be a starting point to imagine kind of a process of communication. It would be less us communicating with them, but more hearing about them and listening to them in a way.
Yeah, Yeah, but I think we do that maybe like in a like inside of our bodies, no? Like there are also other like parts of our bodies which are actually kind of like protecting us from them if they like because there are like some bacteria, of course, living in our guts or so, but if there are too many of them, it starts to be dangerous for the body. So the body try to somehow regulate them. So yeah, it would be a bit self-destructive if we propose them like to, hey, you can grow how much you want, but we could.
A big part of it too then is having that translation. Like they can communicate to us and we listen, and if we need to communicate back, how can we input our message the way we know how to communicate and have it be translated in their way and vice versa. I feel like part of this is about like the translation part.
Yeah, definitely.
That moment where it flips.
Yes.
So there is two things. One is listening and then talking back to them. How do we listen electric signal? That's a good question. Could we use, I don't know, like things like EEG, but for bacteria in a way?
What is EEG? EEG. Okay.
Like electroencephalographic representation of the electric activity of the brain, but for the guts in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think.
That would be cool. And I guess, well, how do we like receiving communication as humans? How are we going to understand it the best?
Well, I think it should go somehow through a computer, and then like the computer could somehow translate it. I think we did once this thing with the plants, or like with just like there were also just the signals. So we were like touching plant, and then you could see like how much you are like touching it basically. And then it went through some like graphic user interface, which was like showing you some graph. So we could do the same like thing.
Probably that there will be a first step about learning the language of the bacteria. So looking at what happens when they send this kind of electric signals. So we kind of being an alphabet of their of the way they speak. And then when we have this kind of ground for translation, knowing that these signals means that, then we have to listen what they are saying so we can understand. And then the trickiest part is how we respond, how we answer them. I mean, I think we can answer them by, for example, adapting our, I don't know, diet, for example, because if they are in our guts, they will be.
But I guess like, you know, it's like Google Translate. You put one language in and then you have another out and then you
But that's not direct communication.
There's a little thing where it then switches it back, where you can, you know, that one button. So it's like we get a message from them that's been translated saying, oh my God, our community is under attack and we need more members. And then we're like, okay, we're sending more probiotics in. But what they hear is beep boop.
Yeah, something like that could work. And it could be actually also like healthy, or maybe we could like learn to understand what's going on with our bodies and somehow like start to eat something different, or like stop drinking that much alcohol or something.
Yeah, it'd almost be interesting if they're living in our bodies after each meal, if we can assess if they're happy or not.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, oh, I ate this junk food and it's like just even maybe a red color that comes and you're like, ooh, they're not happy with that food. And
if they are using electric signals, maybe you can have electric shocks when they are in distress. You know, like feeling the vibration or feeling the tension in a way. I mean, I don't want to make it too punitive or too punishing, but there might be something in this idea of electric tension.
Yeah, and what would be like somehow like induce? We have to like put there some kind of like sonda or like something what is like sensing it would have been like like some small pill or it looked like which you like just swallow and it is there somehow sensing what's going on there.
Or we could have like a belt around our belly, because if they are in the guts, it would be a way to, I don't know, collect the electromagnetic signals. So the belt is kind of collecting the electric and magnetic fields of the.
But I think there are many
bacteria.
electric signals going on in our body, so belt would collect the signals
Yeah,
from everything basically, like also our neurons are like working in this system. So I think it should be something like directly basically them.
Even though I remember reading about this amazing breakthrough with cancer or tumors in the brain, and it uses I think electromagnetic like pulses to start, I guess, like getting the tumor to disintegrate. And it's able to do that because of the mass that the tumor is made out of is different from the other masses in the body. So I don't know, maybe it has a unique marker of the tones that it's using, something.
Yeah, maybe they have some special kind of like as you mentioned in the video, like the plants communicate on 220 hertz. They also have their own frequency. So then we should tune in the frequency.
What if there's messages that you could type on your belt to them? Because in the other exercises, there was like us humming and us blinking. So what if there's something that we could communicate to them?
So like
versus us reading them.
Electric, sending it back.
Sending it back, yeah.
But that's the thing is with the other examples, I'm struggling to understand, does it matter if I'm blinking slowly like a cat, if I don't even know what I'm communicating and me mimicking the cat? Like, what if I'm sending the wrong message? Because blinking means like.
No, but she told it what blinking means. That it means that you are kind of like affectionate or something like.
Okay.
Like a good thing.
Okay.
Your friend basically.
So it requires a little bit of knowing what you are signaling to them.
Yeah, definitely. It's like if I tell you like blah blah blah, they will not understand.
I'm like blah blah blah. What's going on?
Or you will talk to the wrong bacteria, the one you don't want to talk to, you know.
Yeah.
Like there will be a problem of miscommunication at some point.
And what about the if we disrupt it, or we as humans assume that we understand it when it's a much more complex community way of speaking that our minds can't even grasp?
Yeah, maybe the thing.
From what Bastien was saying. Like it's just a completely different logic in which they're connected. So there's also a danger of disrupting that.
Could my stomach talk to your stomach or some kind of like a group thing if all the little microbes
like a micro party. We bring our
stomachs yeah, like let's move to another stomach. It's a better place.
That reminds me like when tree networks, how they share, like if the mother tree is hurting, she'll send out messages of like wisdom to the babies. And it can be interesting with this idea if the stomachs come together to share wisdom.
Yeah.
So someone with a struggling digestive system can share the learnings.
Yeah, and can learn from the others, yeah.
And how they talk with so many of them. Because a cat, like for example, is a one-on-one example, but like with the microbes, you're talking to like
And
thousands.
who knows better how to talk to one another than another group of microbes or bacterias?
Yeah, there are probably so many of them.
So there would be like diplomatic bacteria.
Oh my God, the United Nations of bacteria, and they share knowledge and learnings and insights with one another. And
Hey
then,
guys, I'm here to remind you we're running out of time, so maybe, well,
Yeah.
What happened here?
they can, the breakout rooms, they ended because we ran out of time.
Okay.
Well, has anyone managed to design anything or?
Almost.
Yeah.
Really, that's cool. But the others, if you haven't, you can just, tell us about the idea you had. Anyways, who wants to share?
Should I share this? Let me see on the chat. I just shared now something. Or should I share? No, but I can't share the screen.
Oh yeah. How do
But
we do this?
maybe you, Zuzana, you can share the screen.
Yeah, I can. So I'll open your link.
Yeah.
Okay. And now I can't.
People from the group I was part of, do you mind I talk about this, or anyone else wants to step up?
Oh no, for me it would be great if you do that. Manage this quite well, but we can jump in if we have something to add.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I can't join the room.
You can't?
No.
Zuzana, anyway, everyone can open the link as well. So if you will open the app, you will see what to show up.
Okay.
It wants me to log in.
So maybe this also has a limitation, I guess. No?
Oh, right. I see something.
Okay.
I see some, yeah, okay,
vegetables cool. And some
yes,
some boards. Yeah, okay. Everyone is seeing this or not? Just do this. If you have the mic off.
I'm sharing it now so everyone can see it.
Okay. Right. So just quickly, to also to give time to the other people to present. We were talking about how to communicate or what was our, I don't know, communication sort of problem and which ways we could do that. And here you can see oh my God, I cannot see nothing now. I cannot edit these things because of the background. But yeah, I can try to read. So we try to use things that were related with the article or some cues that were related with the article of how to communicate. And one was communicating via smell. And for example, we were talking, or in this case, Pauline said that one of the ways that these bacteria communicate with us is through smell, or producing a smell, for example, the smell that comes from the soil when we kind of move it or touch it, also then communicating also, Teresa told about communicating via electricity and touch, for example, with modular synthesizers. And this is one of the examples of this picture that you see here. And then Peter was talking about creating a voltage or seeing how bacteria would react, to different voltages, kind of, I don't know how to say this, but putting this bacteria, this, kind of colony of bacteria, just through some voltage and then seeing according to different types of voltage what they would do, what reactions, and then relating all of, or trying to relate all of this, we came to this this touch me that is basically like using electricity to or using the conductivity of non-human, in this case we are talking about vegetables, they would produce a sound, and we got into the conclusion that sound would be our, like the mediator between bacteria, or in this case, like we are talking about vegetables, but it could be like the bacteria, between bacteria and humans. And the idea was also like, you know, like each sound produced would be like some sort of action or need from the bacteria. And the idea was to create some kind of, you know, lexical for that. And in order like for us to be able to decode what each sound could mean, you know, like almost, and was given the example, almost like learning a new language. Sorry if I babbled a lot. And the rest of the people, if they want to jump in,
No, you did
feel
great.
free.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was great. Cool. I mean, such a short time, so many ideas. It's I'm impressed. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to mute myself now.
Okay, I will stop sharing, and another group can share the link with me if you have it. Like if you used Sketch Together, if you didn't and use something else, let us know. But if you just want to explain, that's also fine. Anything.
I can talk for our group. I think my link is already in the chat, the second to last one from Perry Gabriel.
Right. I don't see it.
Let me...
I'll paste it again. That's the
Oh, there we go.
All right. Cool.
Okay.
Great. I'll share it. Okay.
Sweet. So basically our idea was that we need to figure out what the bacteria need from us. And looking at that document, there's a thing called quorum sensing. That was when bacteria want to build a biofilm or a community, they send out little impulses or signals, particles. And we took that as a sign of them not being in their ideal state. So when they're sending out these signals, they want to create a bigger community. So we figured that we can help the bacteria by looking out for these signals. And then when those signals are detected, we can put nutrients into the soil to help strengthen their communities, help them build with other bacteria that's not in their species. And that was our whole idea. If anybody wants to jump in, feel free.
Yeah, that was nice and simple. That's kind of what we were thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Actually, you got it as well. That's and yeah, you used my my images. I'm very happy. Okay. And the last.
For me, it's really interesting that you are interested in what the bacteria want to tell to us, because the message itself can influence the form of communication and what kind of communication, what kind of form is most suitable for the specific kind of the message. So the basic message, I need a food, is the best point where to start.
Yeah, I guess it's similar to what the previous group was saying, how you actually need to build a vocabulary because we need translation of these messages. This isn't something that we would naturally immediately know. And once you know what different signals mean, then you can start understanding it more deeply.
Yeah. Great. I really like this approach because this is I mean, to communicate with bacteria, in a sense, we would imagine that the first thing is impossible. So then you just have to really like go down and then on the level and try to understand what is it they want to communicate. And I mean, they obviously don't want to communicate with us, but like we might be willing to help them. Okay, how about the last group?
So
the screen is still being shared.
yeah, we didn't create any doodles, but we were discussing basically a similar idea as the previous group, like but we placed it into the guts, so that there are bacteria living there, and how do we like understand what they want, and how we can somehow maybe give them what they want, like for example, a type of food, or like change their environment that they feel good. And then we were thinking also about like how we can maybe enable them to communicate with other guts, like other bodies, that they can somehow share their opinions, or like somehow like how to live in a better environment, or so. But basically about like how to understand and how to transfer the language into like understandable for the humans.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting moment that we arrived to, this idea of how we can understand these systems better by bringing systems together to speak with one another, and the type of insights that we can get from that, because we can't assume that the sort of one-way or two-way communication that we have as humans is going to work the same when there's like a complex system that also works as almost like one organism at times. So that was something we were trying to wrap our minds around as well. Does anyone have anything else to add?
At some point at the end of the discussion, we were also seeing if one way to have this communication was to have a third party, but not a technological third party, but maybe another form of bacteria or microorganism that can be the translator, or that we can rely on to either listening to the bacillus or talking back to them. So yeah, we're looking at about the United Nations of bacteria, to have diplomatic bacteria or things like this.
Yeah, I guess that too is like the idea of like in forests with trees, how they can, the dying tree will send out its like all of its insights to its tree network. And so what can successful systems teach to systems that might be suffering? And how do you just connect that and facilitate that communication?
But in a way, it was kind of hard to not have this anthropomorphic kind of approach of what communication means. And I think some of the metaphors were still really anthropocentric, maybe still quite a hard exercise, actually.
Yeah, it's a very good exercise to realize what communication is, because we assume it's, well, for us, it represents something totally different. But then so oftentimes, like when you research a species or like organism, you are not looking maybe for the word communication there to find out how they communicate. So you're looking for something else, and also understand that is important. So you all got it. That's nice. All right. I really like your idea. Actually, I have never came across this, like using a mediator in a form of another organism to actually facilitate the communication, because when we had this project going on, most people would think about like using another like machine or And there was also this process of feeding, because that's like very strong communication if you feed someone something. But this was for the first time, and that's super interesting. Like when you think about the ecosystem and how it's, you know, interconnected and so on. Any other ideas? Anyone?
I think that came up with us is also the responsibility of creating these ideas in terms of if we need to understand the complexity of a system and the ways of communicating of that system before we start inputting solutions or our new ideas, and maybe prematurely because we're designing from what we know. And that's a quite ambitious thing to do, but there's like also the danger of disrupting a system that we might not know exactly how it's operating. I thought that was something interesting that came up.
Yeah, when we started, we asked ourselves, how do you design for the ecosystem? And obviously we can't. That's like, you know, as a designer, you for sure can't, because you don't have the knowledge and you don't, you know. But just to make through these workshops, people think about other organisms differently. I think that was crucial, because it's so obvious when you talk to people who care about animals, like they really care about them, you know, they would observe them, spend time with them, and they would try to mimic them in order to communicate with them. But when you talk to people who own a cat or a dog, you know, it's sort of like, it's a different way of communication, and that's the one where you actually project your own ideas onto the animal and so on. So these exercises actually made the people sort of think like, aha, okay, right, this doesn't work, so maybe, you know. And it's nice to try to build this empathy, because we just became very arrogant and how do you say that, ignorant towards everything. So we thought maybe that could be like a first step, you know, when you want to make someone think about the global warming and things that are going around. And it's also like easygoing, so, and playful, so could work with kids as well, and so on. I don't know, what do you think? That's like the question, what do you think? And then everyone is like,
no, like for me, it was kind of like exactly we skipped this step about like understand and get to know them, because I think it's the most important, like get to know them, how they basically communicate, how are they living, how are they existing, and just then we can start to communicate somehow. So I think yeah, some research, some kind of like getting into the subject is really important for me, at least, to understand,
yeah,
and then can care.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. This was very nice. And I'm glad that you showed up and that you participated. Hope you had fun. And also, you know, this type of exercise you can use. If you want, I can share with you some documents, and you can also like try to use it in your surroundings maybe, because like the whole point was actually this like exercise of thought for this building the empathy. So thank you.
Thank you, Zuzana. Thank you very much. Thanks to all. It looks that like our workshop is at the end, and also the whole Uroboros festival is at the end. But don't worry, most of our events have been recorded, and you can find it on YouTube channel. Furthermore, I'm sure that we'll see in 2021, hopefully in less troubling times. So thank you once more for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.